people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
The undisputed super featherweight champion of the world, Alicia, the Baumgardner.
That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. What is the continued fallout of my little old thumbnail involving Clarissa Shields and Alicia Baumgardner, WBC lightweight champion Carolyn Dubois reacted by saying, this picture is disgusting. It is out of hand and straight up bullying. Alicia Baumgardner is outspoken, cocky, and confident. I've never seen a picture depicting her come out like this. Plus, she did fail real drug tests. That seems to have slipped well under the radar. Well, if you're not seeing more people make Alicia out to be a big mouth, it's because she doesn't have Clarissa's reputation. It's disingenuous to liken one to the other when Clarissa's known for being outspoken, to the point she burns a lot of bridges, to the point she rubs a lot of people the wrong way, whereas Alicia is a lot better with people. Alicia Baumgardner, who responded to Carolyn by saying, let's get this straight, I don't create promo graphics. I responded to a picture of myself, not the image being passed around. Y'all love to twist narratives, to which Carolyn responded, fake outrage, selective memory, where, when? A failed drug test is instantaneously a question of integrity, and that wasn't through me either. Trust me, I haven't forgotten that. The pic is out of hand. You have been outspoken. I've never seen you depicted like this. Because you're pretending that Alicia has Clarissa's reputation? I'm not one for beating around the bush. I'm too old for that. What Carolyn seems to be getting at is colorism. That you don't see images of Alicia depicted how Clarissa's being depicted because I guess she's lighter skinned? That's what Carolyn seems to be implying. That's what I take away from it, making this a false equivalency argument, because Alicia's not known for rubbing people the wrong way or burning bridges or being anywhere near as vocal as Clarissa Shields. So why would Alicia be depicted the same way as Clarissa? We know that Carolyn Dubois is an admirer of Clarissa Shields. She looks up to her. That is established. And it would seem that she's taking sides. Like so many of Clarissa Shields' supporters, there's a lack of accountability. They don't hold Clarissa accountable for anything she says, or anything she does, and what feuds she starts. And that is what is evident when you try to liken Alicia to Clarissa, when Alicia doesn't get into these big blowouts, these big feuds, anywhere near as much as Clarissa Shields. Alicia's not the one running around threatening Jake Paul or threatening Keith Thurman and challenging them to a fight. She's not the one saying she could beat up Triple G. So why would Alicia have the same reputation for being a big mouth as Clarissa? She wouldn't. It's a false equivalency argument. Fanning the flame for a potential Carolyn Dubois versus Alicia Baumgardner fight. They're right there next to each other. Alicia's at 130 and Carolyn is at 135. This is not the catalyst that incited interest from Carolyn Dubois to face Alicia Baumgardner. Long before we got here, Carolyn already expressed that interest. This just adds to it, which is funny because if Carolyn thinks she's ready for Alicia, then why wouldn't she be ready for Beatrice? Beatrice Ferreira, who's right there in her same weight class with an IBF title. Alicia is a more experienced fighter in the paid ranks than Beatrice Ferreira, so naturally, if you think you're ready for Alicia, fighting Beatrice should be no problem. And time again we've seen Carolyn put distance between herself and the fight with Beatrice. Carolyn mentioned Alicia's anti-doping fiasco, take a jab at her, and it's the funniest thing because Alicia was never actually suspended by the Michigan Unarmed Combat Commission, and by all accounts, she did clear her name. She didn't have to suffer any penalties or any suspensions as a result of that situation. Though it's not going to stop her detractors from bringing it up and using it against her at their leisure, at their own convenience, like Carolyn Dubois just did.
She took a jab at Alicia.
And it has everything to do with her affinity for Clarissa Shields. Being honest, a fight between Alicia and Carolyn has always been a bit more realistic than a fight between Alicia and Clarissa. There's too much weight between them. There is no middle ground for two fighters that are that far apart in weight.
No sensible weight without one of the fighters giving up too much.
This is more realistic. These two fighters are only separated by one division. Alicia's at 130, Carolyn is at 135. Of course, Alicia is the A-side. Alicia is the more established name and the more accomplished fighter with more money behind her. I feel like a fight between them is contingent upon Alicia wanting it.
She has all the leverage, all the money behind her.
That should a day come when Alicia moves up from 130 up to 135, she has the ability to make such a fight happen. But of course, that is reliant on Carolyn having something that she wants, and Carolyn is just one of 4 champions in the lightweight division. Nothing about her stands out.
It's not clear separation. And Boxer needs to work harder to get Carolyn those unification matches, though she seems to be a picky eater and is very selective about who she wants to unify with, because she doesn't want to unify with Beatrice.
A lot must come to pass before two fighters like Carolyn Dubois and Alicia Baumgardner share the ring with each other. We're not on the eve of that fight, we're just seeing the first makings of it.
Has the lawsuit been dropped? I know that was like a thing to go with the rematch. That's all like settled and done with now?
That's one of the things that, has been written down. So, we'll have to see with everything. But, again, it's just something that the lawyers deal with all that stuff. My whole purpose is to protect my son, support him, and be there for him.
The rematch, when it does happen, I told Ryan, like, man, please, like, that rematch has to be in the U.S. Like, what are we doing with that? Like,
well, that's something that I would love. I would love the
everyone.
MGM. I mean, I would love that.
Well, that's where it was. No, T-Mobile, right? It was supposed to be the.
Well, yeah. But I mean, I just said MGM, but T-Mobile, any one of those would be perfect. It would be perfect. But, again, negotiations are still, on the table. But we do know that it's scheduled for October.
So it would seem that Devin Haney has dropped his lawsuit against Ryan Garcia, which was a part of the deal to get the rematch. Now, so many misconstrued that lawsuit.
I'm telling you that Devin was never actually after any money or any damages from that lawsuit. It was a leverage play. Leverage the lawsuit against favorable terms for a rematch.
You guys give us the rematch under these circumstances and we'll make the lawsuit go away. That's what it was. But so many deliberately misconstrue the lawsuit as Devin not wanting the rematch and trying to beat Ryan Garcia some other kind of way since he couldn't beat him in the ring.
I don't know if he's going to make it there.
It's not an easy assignment for Devin Haney. Stylistically, going in there with Jose Ramirez, who likes to barrel forward and throw punches and bunches, put a guy under pressure, at a time where Devin Haney, psychologically, we don't know what the state of the man is. For the last 12 months, he's fast become a social pariah and subject to a lot of abuse, online abuse.
He's not yet a man.
Not fully maturated. So for someone who is so young to come under fire so abruptly, 1 minute everything's all right and you're doing great, and the next minute you're public enemy number 1. You have to wonder how Devin is dealing with that internally. Oh, of course, he's gonna put on a brave face for the public and say all the things you expect him to say. But on the inside,
how confident is he?
He's had a bit of a charmed life. Bit of a charmed career when you think about it. Upon signing to Matchroom and DAZN, he was making money well in excess of his market value at that time for no other reason than DAZN was determined to bring American fighters, American talent to their platform irrespective of what it costed.
Call it what it is. He was being overpaid.
Now that some people aren't comfortable with that concept, the concept of fighters making too much, but if you're earning a dollar amount that is well in excess of what you can generate, by definition, you're being overpaid.
Matchroom and DAZN paid Devin Haney a lot of money to come over to their platform.
That went on for a while.
It did.
Leaves Matchroom, goes to Top Rank for 2 or 3 fights or whatever it was, makes more money over there.
Things were good. Things were great for Devin Haney. He was coming off a big win over Regis Prograis at what was his second weight. Ryan ruined all of that.
It was a full 180 is what I'm getting at. That so quickly things went from being very good to being very bad. And you wonder how Devin Haney is holding up psychologically. Can he handle it?
This is his coming of age.
Because he seems to have been living a charmed life up until the point he fought Ryan Garcia and everything happened the way it happened.
I don't know if he makes it to the rematch.
I just know that he needs it. Marcos Villegas is holding out hope that the second fight will land in America and not in Saudi. We know that Turki Al Sheikh is paying the fighters a lot more to box in Saudi
than in America.
He's giving them a financial incentive to do those fights over there, so you wonder where the rematch is going to land if Devin Haney makes it that far. This is one of the bigger fights that you can hope to do on U.S. soil, involving U.S. fighters. This is one of the bigger ones. This is one of the ones that will make people stand up and pay attention, irrespective of alphabet titles, because neither Devin Haney or Ryan Garcia have an alphabet title. You don't need one to sell their fight.
Their initial meeting did a very modest number, somewhere in the neighborhood of 300,000 or something like that, but the rematch...
That's mostly because it was widely perceived that Devin Haney should win, that this is supposed to be a walk in the park for Devin Haney, and just like that, perception of the fight has changed.
Well, it's a lot more intriguing now. Did Ryan catch lightning in a bottle? Can lightning strike twice? Can he do to Devin in a rematch
what he did the first time? And if he can't, is it because he doesn't have the Osterin, or is it because he doesn't get to come in 3 pounds over?
The second fight is more intriguing, and I think commercially it will be bigger than the first one. How much bigger? I don't know if it does $1 million.
I don't know about that, but I do think it will do more buys than the first fight did. I do think it will do substantially more than the first one. Let's see if Devin makes it there.
Ain't no way in hell Terence Crawford #1 on any pound-for-pound list. I don't even think Boots is at number 10 on any pound-for-pound list. Like, I think people just be living in a world of delusion. When niggas was saying Crawford was thinking about going up to 68, can Crawford beat a Demetrius Andrade? There's certain fights you really gotta think about. Can Crawford beat a David Benavidez? Like, no, he can't, bro. Like, come on, man. So how we gonna put this nigga at #1 on the pound-for-pound list when Canelo won't even fight David? Crawford was to get in the ring with David. He gonna cook motherfucking Crawford. Like, come on, bro. We gotta use logic. Pound-for-pound, man, these dudes is moving up, man. These dudes in lower weight classes ain't beating a bigger dude, man. To have the smaller dudes at a #1, BS, man.
I somewhat understand the point that the caller is making, that at Terence Crawford's age, he's not cleaning out super middleweight, but him being the #1 pound-for-pound fighter is not contingent upon him cleaning out the super middleweight division. That's not how pound-for-pound works. One of the most widely debated subjects in all of boxing.
Do you remember when Roy moved up to heavyweight and fought John the Quiet Man Ruiz, won a heavyweight title?
Roy didn't clean out the heavyweight division, and he didn't fight the most formidable heavyweight champion. It's not like he went up there and fought Lennox Lewis, but he was still dubbed the #1 pound-for-pound fighter at the time. Why?
Because he started out as a junior middleweight. So for a junior middleweight to move up that many divisions
throughout his career to eventually win a heavyweight title, that's what makes him pound for pound. That your average junior middleweight ain't gonna do a goddamn thing at heavyweight. Your average junior middleweight will not make it that far. Roy did because Roy's pound for pound.
Above average.
Pound for pound as a concept is a lot more simple than people make it out to be, but it's so often misunderstood. All it really means is that 154 pounds of Terence Crawford, for example, has more skill, more boxing ability than, say, 168 pounds of some other fighter.
Pound for pound.
That 122 pounds of Naoya Inoue has a lot more skill than, say, 147 pounds of Mario Barrios, of Montes Stanionis. Even if those fighters might beat him in a real-life setting, that's not because they're better, that's because they're bigger.
You have to account for the size.
A fighter with a noticeable size advantage over another doesn't have to be the better boxer, because they're bigger.
You have to account for the size.
So when you think about Terence Crawford's big move from 154 up to 168, if he were to emerge victorious, I think that would give him a credible enough argument that he should be ranked pound for pound number 1, because he's already been a champion at 4 weights, lineal in 3, undisputed in 2.
If he beats Canelo, I don't see why he shouldn't be ranked at number 1.
How many guys who started out at 135, like Terence Crawford did, will see themselves crowned champions at 140, 147, 154, and possibly 168? Not a lot.
If he does, that rounds out the argument.
Currently, Terence Crawford ranks in at number 4 on the Ring IQ pound for pound list, behind Canelo Alvarez, behind Naoya Inoue, and behind Alexander Usyk, who I've got ranked at number 1.
You've got Terence Crawford ranked behind Canelo?
At the moment, the biggest indictment against Terence Crawford and why he's not ranked higher on my list is activity. He's not active enough. Canelo is a more active fighter than he is. So is Naoya Inoue. So is Alexander Usyk.
It's not just the accolades. It's not just the title defenses and how many titles you've unified, how many divisions you've climbed. It's also the activity. Terence has been averaging 1 fight a year for years now.
So when you're not fighting as often as everybody else is, that may cause you to lose a bit of ground. But he can rectify it all by winning in September. He can rectify it all by beating Canelo Alvarez. And I think if he does, that gives him a credible enough argument to be ranked at number 1. He's at every disadvantage you can think of. He's not as active as Canelo. He's older. He's smaller. He has no prior experience at this weight.
If he can pull it off, I would say he's number 1.
Though I don't expect Terence Crawford, win or lose after that fight, to stick around much longer. So if he does win and achieves that rank, it will be short-lived.
Just revisiting the initial point, Terence Crawford doesn't have to clean out all of 168 to be ranked number 1.
In fighting Canelo Alvarez, he would already be facing the number 1 super middleweight in the world, and in a very general sense, that's not how pound for pound works. Terence is not required to clean out all of 168 to achieve such a rank.
The whole idea is, this guy's skills must be good because he's able to climb up this many divisions, stay in character, win titles, and beat quality fighters. That's what makes a fighter a pound for pound fighter.
Now, for guys who don't move up a bunch of weight classes, like say Marvin Hagler or Gennady Golovkin, what made them pound for pound fighters was longevity.
Long, successful reigns as champions.
That too can qualify a fighter as a pound for pound fighter, though when you look over at Terence, there's definitely longevity there because the guy's 37 years old and he hasn't lost yet. And if what it's going to take for him to suffer his first professional loss is to fight somebody like Canelo, that's a statement unto itself, that this guy had to go all the way to 168 before he finally took a loss.
You know, he could go up there and get a draw, and that's a victory unto itself.
A draw, because he's so far removed from where he normally campaigns that going up there and getting a draw is a victory unto itself.
So we'll see.